Commercial property due diligence. Yes, we all know there's a ton of tools we can use to really shorten the time frame to get the information, the comps we're after, the comparable results for lease comps, pound per square foot, and also pound per square foot if you're buying, selling the actual freehold. But the old art, the old school arts of due diligence, boots on the ground and going behind enemy lines are as important now as they ever have been. So it's really absolutely critical for your due diligence when you're buying commercial property, investing in commercial property to create passive income. It's really important to get boots on the ground, go behind enemy lines, and let's jump in now and find out exactly what that means. So the first point is physical. You know, when we go to an area, what are we looking for in the property? And the first thing we need to do, obviously we've checked it's an affluent area, which, you know, so if it's an affluent area, you've already checked that in the GOAD, you've checked that in localarea.com. What we need to do is actually walk the streets, because sometimes the GOADs are slightly out of date, and walking the streets and actually, you know, just being aware of how many units are actually vacant. Like we seen a deal yesterday, and immediately I thought, oh my goodness, what a great area, what a really affluent area. And then when I seen the GOAD, I was really shocked, as there were 6 vacant units in that street. And it is a really affluent area. So I was put off immediately, because what that means is there were 3 years left in the lease. It means the rent's going to come down. Yeah. So these are signs that, if you're aware of these signs, give you massive information straight away. And if you've got low vacancy, that's a great sign that there's a lot of spend in the area, and therefore the traders are doing well. And therefore, even if you lose a tenant, that you're going to make it easy on yourself to actually re-let that unit. Yeah, so that's super important to walk the streets before you buy any deal. And then obviously the next sensible one is property visual check. Now, what is a visual check? I mean, really simply, Chris Carter, for example, he's on today. How are you doing, Chris? When he went to see a deal recently, he took along a builder, which is a great idea. And this builder obviously has been in the game for 25 years or something. So he'll have forgotten more than Chris will ever know, because he's a professional. He knows what he's looking for. So taking a builder along, they'll see a lot of things that you don't see, because they do this day in, day out. Yeah. So taking somebody like that along is a really good idea, because you can visually check the roof. How are the slates? Are the slates fine? How are the downpipes? Is the lead still there? Or someone stole a lead? How's the chimney stack? Is it leaning? Is it straight? How's the pointing on the blockwork? Is it all good, or is it all kind of falling away? Is there cracks anywhere? These visual checks are really, really quick fire method of assessing a building pretty quickly. If you take a builder, he'll usually take pictures and he'll do a report after that for free. Chris actually agreed to pay the builder £100 to do this. Now he's come out, maybe even traveled an hour. He's then spending an hour perhaps in the building. He's then an hour back home. He's then going to produce a report from that we can use as ammunition against the landlord's price, all for £100. Now, if you're assessing a property, that £100 is going to be, a lot of bang for a buck, as opposed to at this point getting a commercial property surveyor or building surveyor in just now. They'll charge you, 500 to 1,500 quid. So doing things kind of really quickly on the cheap is good at the start. Yeah. So tenants and vendor meetings. This is where this is probably one of the most important things for me. How you get meetings with tenants and vendors is really simple. You just phone them up, or you pop into the shop, and if you're in the shop, you ask them, have you got 5 or 10 minutes for a chat? But when you start to meet tenants, you'll peel back the layers of what's happening in the area, not only in the area, but what's happening in that shop, what's happening in her business. And the information that Nilesh came up with is pretty incredible. In fact, I think it was the auction was in December of his recent completion, and he completed on January the 16th, I think. And before the auction in December, Nilesh had been to see the tenant. He had spoke to the tenant twice before the auction. Now, he was the only one to speak to the tenant. Yeah, so he met her twice. He may have phoned her after that. I can't remember how many times, but he made the effort to go and see the tenant twice in her premises. He then walked across the road and asked, "How's business?" Really, really simple things will uncover gold in the area. And in terms of other meetings, vendor meetings. Nilesh had a meeting with the vendor solicitor as well, which is incredibly important because then he finds out, he unearths what's going on in the background, which may give you valuable information, in terms of what price you can maybe pay or how much of a motivation, or if it doesn't sell at auction, then he can come back and he's already got a connection there. Yeah. So really, really important that, especially for me, the tenant, because in that situation with Nilesh's deal, the tenant was leaving, and the reason for that is that she was at loggerheads or didn't like the landlord who, after Nilesh met her, she was hoping Nilesh bought the deal. Yeah, because she knew that she could do a deal with Nilesh and he would be a fair and a kind of a good landlord to have. And as a result of that meeting, that initial effort to get into the street and meet the tenant. So in that meeting that Nilesh had with the tenant, it has led to two incredible things. Well, three incredible things. Firstly, the rent's gone up, which who wouldn't want a rent increase? Secondly, we've gone from losing a tenant to replacing an 18-month lease with a 10-year lease. Now that's a really positive thing. But the other thing that's happened there, now this is only by just going and having a meeting and creating a connection and finding out what the problems are and having empathy. What the next thing is the tenant owns a property somewhere else, and she has got, I think, 3 partners, so there's 4 of them in the deal, and 3 of them want out, so they have to sell it to someone else, but they don't want to sell it to this tenant in Nilesh's deal. So she is organizing the commercial property to be sold to Nilesh with a long-term lease in place because she operates a business with it. So it's not only led to an increase in rent, it's led to increase in rent, 10-year lease, and another deal with an existing 10-year lease in place. Now, that's just by creating a connection. So this really is where the gold is, yeah? Tenants and vendor meetings, absolutely.